Hey guys, in this tutorial, we're gonna create some cool glitch effects on our footage using the free tool EbSynth and After Effects. First, I'll quickly show you guys the basics of using EbSynth. Then we'll take a look at how you can create some cool glitchy and abstract effects on your footage. We can even use EbSynth to create some cool paint-like reveals and transitions. This one's gonna be a lot of fun because it's basically like discovering a free glitch plugin. So let's roll the intro and get started. All right guys, EbSynth is a free tool that allows you to quickly add a hand-drawn effect to your footage using just a few styled keyframes. And what we're gonna do is use it in some unconventional ways to create some intentional glitch effects. I'll have links for everything that I mentioned on the blog post, including where you can download EbSynth and a few other freebies that I'm gonna use. And a link for that will be in the description. Now let's go ahead and jump over to After Effects. All right guys, I just want to start out by showing you a quick overview of how EbSynth normally works. You can see I've got a short video clip here, and what you would normally do is export this out as an image sequence. And this gives you one image for each frame of your video. From here, we would need to select a few frames of the video to act as our keyframes. And on these keyframes, we would go ahead and apply a stylized look to them. And you could do this either by hand, by painting in Photoshop, or what I actually did, because I'm no artist, is I use the neural filters that are built into Photoshop. I use the style transfer filter, and this quickly applied a painting-like look to my keyframe. So I just saved each of those frames out with that stylization applied to it. And then EbSynth would take the look of those keyframes that I stylized and apply that to all of the video frames, essentially applying it to the entire video. Then I could easily export the results from EbSynth directly to After Effects. And the end result is not flawless. You can see we have a little bit of artifacting occurring on the background. And the makers of EbSynth actually recommend to use this effect on green screen footage to get even better results. And you can see I've done that here and the results are much better. And now that I've kind of shown you guys the basics of how EbSynth works, let me go ahead and walk you through step by step how we're gonna use EbSynth to create some glitch effects. So I'm just gonna start by adding my footage here to a new composition. Now we need to export this out as an image sequence, but before we do that, there's a few things that'll make it a lot easier if we go ahead and set up now. And the first is gonna be just right-clicking over here and let's go to Composition Settings. And in here, you'll see the start time code. And if yours doesn't start at 0, go ahead and just 0 that out. That way it starts at 0 and go ahead and click OK. And then down here at the bottom left, you can see we have the time code here. It shows us the seconds and the frames. It'll actually be a lot easier if this just tells us the frame number because we're gonna be exporting an image sequence. So just come over here, highlight that and hold Control and click. That'll be Command and click if you're on a Mac. And you're gonna see now, it's just gonna give us the frame number. It's no longer gonna show us the seconds. See, it starts out at all zeros. Then as I move down, it's just gonna continue to give us the frame number. So this clip goes all the way down to frame 97. And this will make exporting our image sequence just a little bit easier to keep track of. So let's go ahead and export that now. Just gonna come over here to the render queue and I'm gonna drag my composition down into that. Then I'm just gonna click on the output module here so we can go ahead and change this. Let's go ahead and change the format now to be a PNG sequence and go ahead and click OK. And then we can select where we want to output this to. Now in the folder that you want to output to, we actually need to create another folder and just call it video. This is just so it'll work a lot easier with EbSynth later on. So I'm just going to right click here and let's do a new folder. I'll just call this video and I'll just double click inside of that. And for my footage here, I'm just going to name this footage. And After Effects will automatically add an underscore and add a frame ID for each one of these when we export it. Again, just naming this footage just keeps it simple. And go ahead and click Save. And now we can go ahead and render out our image sequence. And I'll just speed this part up to when it finishes. All right guys, the image sequence has finished exporting. And you can see we have our video folder that we created. If I double click into that, we now have an image for each frame of our video. And you can see it named it again. Like I said, we have footage, underscore, and then the frame number. Let's jump back over to After Effects now. And what we now need to do is create our glitch keyframe. So we're just gonna create one image that has some glitchy effects applied to it. And you can use any glitch effect you want, like if you have a third-party plugin. However, I'm gonna use a glitch effect that's built directly into After Effects. So I'm gonna start by creating a new adjustment layer. Then I'm gonna come up to Effect, and under Immersive Video, we're gonna select VR Digital Glitch. Now this effect is actually designed to be used on 360 video footage. However, it's gonna work just fine for us in this case. And you can see we have a lot of digital artifacting already appearing on our footage. Now I'm gonna dial this back a little bit. I'm gonna come over to distortion. And on the color distortion, I'm gonna bring this down to something like 18. You can see it's just giving us a slight bit of color fringing around the edge. And then for the geometry distortion on the X-axis here, you can see I'm gonna dial that back quite a bit. I'm gonna set on something like 14. Now you can apply the digital glitch to the entire image if you want to. However, I recommend applying it just to kind of your person. So I'm gonna create a very quick mask around myself. But before I do that, you need to decide which frame of the video you kind of want the base frame to be. And with a glitch like this, I'm probably gonna have it be the very first frame. So I'm just gonna move the current time indicator all the way back over to the beginning. So we'll work from this frame right here. And then to create the mask, I'm just gonna select the pen tool, and this can be very quick and easy. So I'm just gonna draw a quick outline around myself. It doesn't have to be perfect. And this is just so that digital glitch is just affecting me more than the actual background. And if you don't like the exact look of the glitches you have on screen, you can always come up here to the random seed and scroll through that and get a different look if you want. And now we just need to export this image out as our keyframe. And to do that, just have the current time indicator again on whatever frame you want to export. Mine's at the very beginning. And I'll come up here to composition, and we're gonna select save frame as and file. And that'll go ahead and add that to the render queue. And on the output here, I want to select to be a PNG sequence. Go ahead and click OK. And then we can go ahead and name our output file. And I actually don't want to export this out to the video folder that we have our other frames. I want to come back here to my main folder. I want to create a new folder and call that keyframe. So I'm just going to right click and do a new folder and call it keyframe. And go ahead and double click inside of that. And we can go ahead and save this out. We're going to rename the file name in just a second, but I'm going to leave it as is for the time being. Click save and render. And it went ahead and exported out our frame. And we can see that here in our keyframe folder. There's our glitch image. Now I need to rename this keyframe to match the file naming of my video folder here. So you can see it's footage underscore, and then the first frame here is all zeros, so 5 zeros. So I actually need to rename my keyframe to match with this so EbSynth knows to match it to that frame. Sorry if that sounds a little complicated, but you'll understand more as I do this. So let me come back over to the keyframe. I'm just going to click on it. And I'm just gonna rename this footage, and then underscore, and then 5 zeros. Again, this is just so EbSynth knows to match this keyframe to that frame of our video footage. So let's jump back over to our main folder here, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up EbSynth. I'll have the link for where you can download EbSynth directly from their website on the blog post. Again, that will be in the description. So we've got EbSynth opened up here, and you see we have a few different things. We need to tell it where our keyframes are and where our video frames are. So for the keyframes, you're gonna hit select, and that'll open up the Explorer window. I'm just gonna double click in my keyframe folder and select my keyframe. And then for the video folder, I'll go ahead and select that. And just go ahead and select the video folder and select the first frame of that. And we can see that EbSynth is gonna create a new output folder where it kind of applies that glitch effect to each of the frames. However, I recommend coming over here to the Advanced tab. I'm gonna go ahead and toggle that down. And one of the most important settings for video like this is the deflicker. They recommend setting this around a value of 2. I'm actually gonna even set it to 3. This just ensures that we don't get any weird kind of flickering on our footage. So I'm just gonna type in 3. And then for the synth detail, I recommend setting this to either low or even garbage if you want it to have even more kind of artifacting on it. I think low is gonna work just fine for us in this case. Then I'm just gonna click run all, and EbSynth will go ahead and start doing its thing and creating those new frames. And I'll just go ahead and fast forward to when this finishes. All right, EbSynth has finished. Let's go ahead and click export to AE. And when we do that, we need to tell it the frame rate for our footage. And in my case, it was actually 24. And go ahead and click export. And that'll automatically bring back up After Effects. And we can see it's already imported in our image sequence and create a new composition, just named it comp. Let's go ahead and preview this glitch. As you can see, it looks pretty crazy the way it kind of maps the gray color of my shirt to my hands when I bring them on screen there. So I'm pretty pleased with this result. Definitely looks like we have some serious artifacting going on. And now to mix and match this in with our original footage, it's really easy as well. So I'm just gonna go back over to my original composition, the tutorial footage composition here. Let's go ahead and delete that adjustment layer we created with our glitch effect. That was one we used to create our keyframe. So now we just have our base footage. And I'm gonna go ahead and select that composition that EbSynth created and drag it in and place it above my footage. And I'm just gonna scroll through here, and let's just go ahead and trim this comp so that the glitch kind of appears in the middle somewhere. So you can see we have normal, and then we get the glitchy result there. And if you want this to go away, you can just trim it on the end as well. So you can kind of trim this around and add little glitch points throughout your video. Now, one thing I like to do to make the glitch look a little nicer when it first appears on screen, give it a little more pop, Let's go ahead and create an adjustment layer. And I'm gonna trim this adjustment layer up so it's just kind of at the very beginning of this clip. And on the adjustment layer, let's go ahead and apply the VR digital glitch again. So under Effect, go down to Immersive Video and VR digital glitch. Now let's come over to distortion, and we're just gonna keyframe the color distortion and the geometry X distortion here. So I'm just gonna have this come on screen. Let's go ahead and put a keyframe for each one of those. I'll just leave it at the default value of 50 and come down here to the end and set those down to 0. So it basically kind of impacts on and then goes away, and then we're kind of stuck with these other glitches. This might be a little strong, so let's go ahead and preview this. I think that looks pretty good. You may want to dial down the distortion at the very beginning here. I might cut this back to like 30 for each one of those. Yeah, I think it looks a little bit better there. And that's essentially the entire process of creating glitches on your footage with EbSynth. You could just repeat this for any more glitches you want to create. Now, one other thing I want to show you guys is how I created this paint-like effect using EbSynth. We're going to use a very similar method that we did for the glitch effect. Now, you can see in After Effects, I have some footage here. And this is actually a clip from the free space kit that we have available on PremiumBeat. I'll have a link where you can find that also from our blog post. It's in the description. And I took one of the shots from that and I sped it up about 4 times. It's about 5 seconds long right now, and you can see it's kind of just moving through like paint dripping. And I wanted to use this with EbSynth to kind of create a reveal effect for a painting image. However, I need this to end really smoothly. So what we can do to create that is I'm just gonna right click on the clip here. Let's go to time, and I'm gonna select Enable Time Remapping. That'll give us a keyframe at the beginning and the end. And this end keyframe, I'm gonna select that one and hit F9. Which will make that an easy ease keyframe and kind of smooth that out a little bit. However, let's go over here to the speed graph. And I'm gonna select this little Bezier handle here on the end and just move it over. So this is essentially kind of slowing down. You can see how it kind of ramps up and then slows down really slowly. And I don't want it to ramp up exactly like this. Let's go ahead and move this one all the way over to the left. So now we can kind of see it just starts and it's gradually just slowing down. And if we preview this, we can see what it looks like. It starts out quick, then gradually slows down to a stop. And to make this even smoother, let me go ahead and turn off the speed graph. We can come over here to the frame blending. If I go ahead and click on that twice, it'll enable pixel motion frame blending. And it'll take a little bit longer to render the previews and export out, but it's gonna make it even smoother and look better with EbSynth. So what I did from here was export this out as an image sequence, just like we did for our glitch effect. And we can see in the video folder that I created for this one, we have the entire image sequence here of the paint. Now let's come back up here. And if we look at the keyframe, what I've got here is just an image of a painting that I want this to animate onto. Now I need to rename this keyframe, and the way I'm gonna do that is if I come back over to the video folder with our paint animation, I need to select the very last frame. So we can see this is footage, underscore, and then 119. So I'm gonna come back over here to my keyframes, and I'm just gonna go ahead and rename this. Again, it's very important that this matches the last frame for this type of animation. So there we go, I've renamed that footage, and then underscore 00119 to match my video. Let's jump back over here to our main folder. So let's go ahead and bring back up EbSynth, go ahead and select the keyframe folder. And go ahead and select our video folder. And then under advanced for this one, I wanna set the synth detail to be low. And then for the deflicker, again, I wanna set this at 3. And go ahead and select run all. I'll go ahead and speed this up to when it finishes. All right, that has finished. I'm gonna go ahead and select export to AE. Again, I need to input the frame rate, which is gonna be 24 frames per second, and go ahead and click export. And that will bring back up After Effects, and it's gonna leave us with this beautiful paint reveal animation. So this is another cool and different way you could utilize the tech behind EbSynth to create some cool stuff, whether it be glitches or painting reveal animations like this one. I definitely recommend experimenting and playing around with EbSynth and seeing what all you guys can create. All right guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and drop a comment if you did. And be sure to check out some of our other glitch tutorials we have on the PremiumBeat channel. And I will catch you guys on the next one.